In a shocking development that underscores the depths to which Sarah Ferguson, the erstwhile Duchess of York, has plummeted in public esteem, the narrative extends far beyond the forfeiture of her residence and ceremonial designations. It encompasses the wholesale abandonment by her erstwhile companions. What has transpired is nothing short of a cataclysmic reversal. The complete ostracization of Sarah from her long-standing social milieu, precipitated by the intensifying maelstrom enveloping her former spouse, Prince Andrew, and his documented affiliations with the late Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier convicted of heinous sexual offenses. The once vibrant lines of communication have fallen eerily silent. The cascade of invitations to exclusive gatherings has abruptly ceased. Individuals who mere weeks prior vociferously championed her cause now recoil from any association. This constitutes a form of societal banishment in its most unforgiving manifestation. Confidential sources intimate that even Sarah, renowned for her indomitable spirit amid prior tempests, perceives no viable path to rehabilitation on this occasion. The individual who has navigated an array of controversies spanning multiple decades appears to have encountered an insurmountable barrier. We invite you to remain engaged as we meticulously dissect each harrowing facet of Sarah Ferguson's precipitous descent from the pinnacles of aristocracy, exclusively on UK Royal Report. The emerging accounts delineate a tableau of utter solitude. Informants in proximity to Sarah disclose that her cadre of confidants has resolutely distanced themselves from the ex-duchess in the wake of the furor tied to Andrew's entanglement with Epstein. These are not peripheral figures in her life. Rather, they represent a cohort that steadfastly supported her through antecedent imbroglios, extolled her unwavering devotion to her ex-husband and their offspring, and had faith in her recurrent capacity for metamorphosis and resurgence. Yet, the present circumstances diverge markedly. The linkage to Andrew, now divested of every accolade and official appellation, has assumed a virulence that renders it untenable. The societal penalty for sustaining ties with Sarah Ferguson has escalated to prohibitive levels, prompting her associates to prioritize their own safeguarding over fidelity. They have elected prudence in lieu of allegiance. Sarah and Andrew's union spanned from their nuptials in 1986 until their separation in 1996, whereupon, notwithstanding the dissolution of their marriage, she preserved the formal entitlement of Duchess of York. In latter years, she seldom invoked this honorific, yet it lingered as a vestige of regal affiliation, conferring prestige and entree into elite domains. This paradigm shifted irrevocably in the past week when Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was formally relieved of his distinctions and nomenclature by King Charles III. The monarch's decree was impelled by persistent communal indignation regarding Andrew's nexus with Epstein, the convicted pedophile and orchestrator of child exploitation. The repercussions for Sarah transcend mere symbolic deprivations and domiciliary displacements. They permeate her communal stature, her renown, and her prospective endeavors. Consequent to her mandated departure from the opulent royal lodge in tandem with Andrew, Sarah is purportedly deliberating an international relocation. The impetus is unequivocal and poignant. Her acquaintances evince no inclination to perpetuate interaction. As relayed by a confidant to the Daily Mail, Sarah has perennially existed in a state of transience, bereft of substantial moorings to the United Kingdom subsequent to the instantaneous evaporation of social overtures. Contemplate the profundity of this transformation. An individual who once orchestrated her existence amid the zenith of British aristocracy, gracing resplendent soirees and enumerating luminaries and nobility amongst her intimates, now confronts vacuous agendas and mute telecommunications. The scaffolding underpinning her interpersonal network has imploded, rendering her continued presence in a nation that has repudiated her largely superfluous. Further elucidation from another privy source amplifies the gravity. While Sarah's fidelity to her prior consort and progeny had hitherto garnered admiration, she now grapples with insurmountable hurdles in extricating herself from Andrew's communal opprobrium. The informant observed that Sarah has invariably contrived mechanisms for resurgence following myriad public disgraces, typically via remunerative acts of contrition and vows of amelioration. This alludes to her established modus operandi of self-reinvention. She has endured pecuniary malfeasances, mortifying media disclosures, and widespread abasement. Invariably, she orchestrated recoveries through authorship, media dialogues, televisual engagements, and incremental reclamation of a modicum of dignity. However, the extant paradigm defies replication. The source elaborated that telecommunications have halted precipitously. Erstwhile defenders from scarcely a month ago now eschew all engagement. The calamity manifests dualistically, vocationally and intimately. Remarkably, Sarah herself discerns no avenue for recuperation. Such pronouncements are profoundly dispiriting, implying that this paragon of tenacity has descended into despondency. Vocational avenues have dissipated. Interpersonal bonds have disintegrated. The horizon appears desolate, and for the inaugural instance in her volatile trajectory, a stratagem for restoration may elude her. The quandary extends beyond Andrew's transgressions. Sarah harbors her own historical linkages to Epstein, adjudicated culpable for trafficking minors in sexual exploitation. In 2011, and reiterated in 2019, she characterized her involvement as a monumental lapse in discernment, vowing perpetual disassociation. She articulated abhorrence for pedophilia and child sexual maltreatment, conceding a grievous misjudgment in any affiliation with Epstein, whose actions merited incarceration. At the time, these avowals resonated with authenticity, persuading many of her ingenuousness, deceived by Epstein's affluence and network sans comprehension of his atrocities' scope. Nevertheless, emergent disclosures have obfuscated this account. Post the purported severance by Sarah and Andrew, Epstein having been convicted in 2008 for procuring a minor for prostitution, an electronic missive surfaced wherein Sarah allegedly lauded him as an exemplary ally. As chronicled by The Sun and Mail on Sunday, she asserted non-utilization of pedophilia in his regard, clarifying, "As you know, I did not absolutely not say the P word about you, but understand it was reported that I did." This is incriminating, intimating contemporaneous public denigration and private mollification, thereby perpetuating the liaison. Do not overlook any escalation in this calamity. Sarah persisted in the correspondence, assuring Epstein, "I know you feel hellaciously let down by me. You have always been a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend to me and my family." Reconciling this with her overt condemnations proves arduous. How does one reconcile detestation of pedophilia and regret over Epstein ties with effusive private praise? The incongruity is patent, rendering her predicament insupportable. Confidants, professional affiliates, and the populace grapple with credulity amid evidence of a labyrinthine, disconcerting rapport. Sarah's agents have endeavored to contextualize the epistle, positing it as a maneuver to avert defamation litigation from the tarnished mogul. Prospects uncertain, reinvention abroad or terminus. Recovery from universal blacklisting, Epstein taint? Certitude. Erstwhile existence terminated, accrued capital exhausted, glamour, entree, prestige improbable. Contemplate. Unjust penalization for Andrew's deeds, or Epstein bonds warrant exile. Recuperation from societal erasure feasible, or conclusive. Daughters, safeguard futures via detachment or unyielding support. Comment your vistas on this ruinous plummet. Subscribe to UK Royal Report. Enable alerts for perpetual updates on this regal cataclysm. The narrative persists. We persist in chronicling each vicissitude, disclosure, aftermath. Gratitude for engagement. Anticipate our subsequent dispatch.